Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel. This is Neo of AhhhSoNeo saying hi. Starting a new series starting today that I'm going to call Let's Talk About Luxury, and it's really going to be a series where we're talking about the general state of luxury these days. It's 2020, it's the time of COVID. How are you feeling about luxury and shopping and all that kind of stuff right about now? If you'd like to hear my thoughts on the state of luxury in 2020, then I would love it if you would watch this video. Hi ladies, welcome back to my channel. This is Neo of AhhhSoNeo. I am doing a new video series starting today that is going to be called Let's Talk About Luxury, and it's just going to be my thoughts about what's going on in the world of luxury. But before we go there, maybe you want to know, well, who the hell are you? Well, hi, my name is Neo. This is my channel here on YouTube, AhhhSoNeo, and I like to shop luxury, baby luxury. But you know, we all have to start somewhere. I am definitely an aspirational shopper who loves a luxurious mindset, not just luxury, but an abundance mindset and not just luxury, and a good pair of shoes, some makeup, and definitely a good designer handbag. So if these are things that sound like you might be interested in, then watch this video. Definitely subscribe. And also hit the notification bell so you can always see my upcoming videos, especially in this series, Let's Talk About Luxury. So where are we starting today when we're talking about luxury? We are starting, of course, with the huge, ginormous rumor that Neiman Marcus is on the verge of declaring bankruptcy. This was the headline of the week last week. Storied retailer in business since 1907, bankrupt. And I remember my girl Amaya at home, and I'll link her video down here. She put out a video immediately like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to Neiman Marcus? What's going to happen to their staff? And my response on her channel was, I'm not surprised. I am not the least bit surprised. And then she was like, really, I'm surprised. And I kind of was like, yeah, I want to do a video talking just about this topic. The thing being that I've been following the Neiman Marcus stock for quite some time now. Many years ago, I decided if I was gonna spend money buying some of these things, then it might be wise to own stock in these companies that do such a good job of selling to me. And so I started researching different stocks. Yeah, I tried buying Neiman Marcus stock a while back when they were floating around an IPO, and by a while back I mean probably 8 years ago, and I will cover that as we go through. But of course I couldn't. Big moving truck outside. And so it's just a stock that I've followed every time it pops up in the headlines ever since then. So Neiman Marcus is a very old company, started in I believe 1907 by someone Neiman and someone Neiman Marcus, a brother and a sister, and I of course now don't remember the names. And they started the store in Texas because they wanted to bring high-end fashion to the women in Texas, since women in Texas at that time did not have an option of, you know, going to New York or going to LA. And they wanted to bring like big city high-end fashion to Texas, and they've done a really good job. And there's stories of how the company grew and grew over the years, from one store to 4 to buying retail locations in other big major cities, and then of course becoming the company that we all know and love now. A very high-end, very luxe, very elegant kind of shopping environment. While you might be there for hours, or you might go there and have tea in the shops upstairs, or get a facial in their facial rooms, and so on. A very luxurious experience, and well, can be a very luxurious experience. But that's what Neiman Marcus has become known for. But now it's 2020. Last week it came about that they couldn't make one of their payments, and are, you know, and are in talks with their creditors and are looking at declaring bankruptcy. Which, is this even a world still where luxury in-person retail shopping is still happening? I don't know. That is actually a topic for another day, but today we are sticking with just Neiman Marcus and this threat that they might declare bankruptcy. So today, whenever this video goes up, it'll be the 27th, 28th of April. Last week was when everybody said, oh, they're going to declare bankruptcy by Wednesday, and it's now a whole week later, and there's been, at this time that I'm filming, it's just the 27th of April, bankruptcy has not been declared. I have notes on paper because I kind of went digging. Like, I knew some stuff, and then I know some stuff has happened along the way, but I wanted to be able to make sure I was giving the right information. So I did some digging, which is why it took me so long to get this video up, but here we go. So, what Neiman, it's 2020. It's the world of COVID-19. It's a pandemic. We're all social distancing. It's just, luxury as a whole is suffering right now. Retail as a whole is suffering right now, except Amazon. But anyway, so due to COVID-19, in March 18, Neiman Marcus closed all of its 43 stores. They closed their Bergdorf Goodman stores, Hauchow, and all their last call facilities. They also paid their staff for 2 weeks as of March 18, 2 weeks pay. But then, as of However, sometime into that, they followed most of their 14,000 staff between April 5th and April 30th. They are continuing to pay their health benefits, but they have been furloughed. And there's question, of course, about whether stores will reopen in May and whether the staff will come back. Retail staff was laid off. And staff that remained, like executive level staff, had to take a 20% pay cut. And I believe the current CEO of the company forfeited his paycheck for the month of April. The question, of course, now being, will the stores reopen? Will the staff come back in the month of May? Seeing as some states are now starting to open, we're looking at you, Georgia. Let's see how this goes. Really, it all feels like a big experiment. Let's see, the e-business and the websites, the e-business and the warehouses are of course still open, and we've seen many a sale happening on the Neiman Marcus website. Some of these were coming out before the banks made the big, before the newspapers made the big declaration that bankruptcy was imminent. So, and some of you might be thinking, if all these impacts are occurring because of COVID-19, why didn't Neiman also apply for all the different federal loans that are out there that are to help companies survive the storm? And what I found out was that Neiman's has a junk bond status, so it doesn't qualify for loans from the government. So now you might be wondering, why would this company that literally has billions in sales every year would be junk bond status? Let's see. Yeah, they make $5 billion in sales per year. So, and honestly, Neiman Marcus is not the only company that's all under pressure. We all know that Barney's closed last year, completely gone. True Religion, the luxury jeans, although I never got in the hype, but they declared bankruptcy on the 13th of April because they couldn't pay their rent and their leases, and they wanted to get out of their physical stores, etc. I am going to be referencing a bunch of newspaper articles, some court documents that I came across, and I will link everything down below because it's a lot of information. So I will link all my sources down below. Anyway, so as I was saying, True Religion just declared bankruptcy April 13th. So Neiman's is not the only company that's under pressure right now with COVID-19. Everybody's looking at JCPenney like it's next. I'm personally surprised Macy's still standing, but you know what? There's actually some good news about Macy's, so we'll see how that goes. Now, the problem that has occurred for Neiman's, and part of why I actually started following this stock many moons ago, is what I'm going to talk about next. They stopped reporting their financial numbers in 2019, but prior to that, it was about $5 billion. So the company was always under family ownership until about the 80s. Then they were bought out by an investment company, and that did well for a while. And then that company decided to put Neiman's up for sale in 2013. even though Neiman Marcus makes, billions in sales per year, it is a company that is in a lot of debt. And by a lot, I mean billions of dollars. So Neiman Marcus, and the reason they were in the media last week is because they have over $4 billion in loans, and the interest payments were due last week. These interest payments were in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and in 2019 they had pushed an extension into this year, and the payment for April was due, and basically Neiman's let the world know, or didn't, that they were going to miss the payment, which would put them in default. It was going to kick off other interest payments that were going to be due that had been pushed into 2023. But you know what it's like, once you start missing one payment, everybody comes after you. Overall, on their $4.6 billion debt, their interest payments are in the $300 million range. So can they pay that? Yes, when they're open, they are able to pay that. Can they pay that during the time of COVID when most of us have reduced our shopping? No. And unfortunately, as we see, laying off your staff, that's one way of saving revenue. And having a bunch of sales is one way of trying to get your revenue up, your sales online. So, so that is why in the media they were reporting that they might declare bankruptcy because they missed this major payment. I think sometimes for a lot of us, when we hear that Company X is going to declare bankruptcy, we automatically think Company X is dead. No. Bankruptcy is not actually a bad thing. Just as for personal family, it might not necessarily be a bad thing. It's a way to restructure your debt, protect your assets if you have any, and kind of start afresh. So for Neiman's, really, it can mean that their creditors cannot go after them, their assets. It can get them out of their leases, especially malls that might not be doing so well. And then their goods cannot be seized as collateral just yet. So it really gives the company a pause and a chance to renegotiate. There are definitely benefits to a big company like that declaring bankruptcy. They can sell businesses, they can sell the parts of themselves that are making money. That could be a good cash grab. They can be an extension of their loan payments. They can say, hey, once COVID is over and we're back in full swing, we know we can go back to making these payments, but we're going to need you to extend the loan a little bit so we can go from owing you $115 million, which is what they missed, to maybe just 100. They can ask for loan forgiveness, right? Because sometimes when you say to a company, I've got nothing to give you, I'm about to declare bankruptcy, the company might say, okay, we'll give you a little bit of that money off, right? Negotiation. And then also, if it wasn't COVID-19 times and stores were open, there could have been liquidation sales to help the company get in revenue. Unfortunately for them, they are not open, so they cannot sell in the physical stores, but they do have their e-business still up and going, so that is where they are left with being able to continue to raise money, which is actually kind of makes me laugh. My husband said Neiman Marcus is going to declare bankruptcy, and then he smiled because he was probably thinking, yes, I'm going to save some money if this store doesn't exist. And the first thing that popped into my mind and that I said out aloud to him was, there's going to be sales. That wiped the smile off his face. So we'll see. So next I want to cover, how did Neiman's get themselves into this big giant mess? Why does Neiman Marcus have a $4.6 billion debt if you're making $5 billion a year? In 2013, the last company that had bought out the Marcus family decided to, they were considering an IPO and putting Neiman Marcus out on the stock market, right? And that's actually when I became aware that, hey, this could possibly happen, and I was looking into, if this happens, I would like to buy this stock because I love Neiman Marcus. It's a fabulous store. Instead, even though they floated the IPO, it did not come to pass because two companies, Ares Management and the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, bought them out. And this was a few months after Hudson Bay bought out Saks. So these two companies bought out Neiman Marcus back in 2013, and they bought them out in what's called a leveraged buyout. So Google it, because I don't know all the ins and outs of exactly what a leveraged buyout is, but by my understanding, it's when you use the assets of that company to take out loans to be able to buy the company, and then use the money that you'll then earn to pay back those loans. So it's not like they came up to the old management company and said, hey, here's 4.6 billion, we want to buy you. No, they took loans out against the assets that they were going to own, the stores, etc., and then used that money to buy the company. So and then, of course, other things that I found out, when there's an LBO, a leveraged buyout, a lot of times in that, money that gets pulled out from the assets that the company owned, there's a lot of bonuses, and there's a lot of money that gets spread around while we are congratulating ourselves on having bought this company. But okay, I'm just putting that out there. So, and part of the amount that was taken out was about $4.91 billion. I've seen different numbers floating out there. I've seen 4.9, 4.5, 4.6, so I'm not exactly sure. And then there was also a lot of revolving credit that was going to allow that company to, move forward. They were really moving forward in digitizing themselves in their e-commerce. They were doing a whole lot of other actions to make themselves stay relevant. And so even though, so a lot of use was put to the money that was pulled out of the company. The leader of Ares Management at that time was David Kaplan, and he said they were going to put the capital into the business to keep it as the unparalleled leader of luxury retail. Very lofty goals. So yeah, but what it did is that it made Neiman Marcus heavily in debt, so that, and I'll have a table here because this was fascinating to me. It's a comparison of its debt versus its asset, and in the table it will compare to Nordstrom and it will compare to Macy's. And when I saw this table, that's when I thought to myself, oh, this is why, because in my mind, looking at my local Macy's store, I figured Macy's was going to be the first to go during COVID-19. But when you look at Macy's sales compared to their debt versus Neiman Marcus's sales compared to their debt, then you kind of see why Neiman's is more in trouble than Macy's is, because the numbers just don't lie. So now I'm going to go into a little bit of what has transpired with Neiman Marcus since the sale. I'm not sure how leveraged buyouts work. I'm sure the company thought they were going to keep making enough money to compensate for the debt that they owe. They had a lot of ideas for how they were going to keep Neiman Marcus at the top of its game, and how they were going to keep making a lot of money. And let's see, some of these include the following, and some of the things that have happened. They bought mytheresa.com, which is a luxury website that has actually continued to make a lot of money. So that was one thing. They had a big collab with Target back in 2012, 2013. Remember when the collabs with Target were really popular? And everybody was kind of doing them, and they were selling out day of, etc. And then Neiman Marcus did theirs, and it was a total disaster. And yet a lot of the stock ended up going on sale for 70%. It was one of the Target collabs that was a complete flop. Anyway, but the company kept going. They opened up a new line of younger stores called My Cusp, but I think by like 2015 the whole My Cusp thing just died out. It was just not doing what they had hoped it would be doing. And then in 2015, this company, Ares Management and the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, started kind of floating around the idea of an IPO, because it was becoming obvious to a lot of people in the industry that they were not going to reach their obligations. They had huge debt payments due in 2021, and they just weren't going to make it. Again, Hudson Bay, who now owns Saks, was quoted as being interested in buying them. But the IPO ended up getting indefinitely postponed, and they all soldiered on, kept going with the new ideas. But in 2018, Neiman Marcus was sued for fraud by Marble Ridge, and I will have a link to the court documents. It was fascinating read. The case ended up ultimately getting dismissed by the court, but it was still a fascinating read. And basically, Neiman Marcus, based on this company that owns them, they did a reorganization where they changed the structure of the company, and they moved the successful component, which is myteresa.com. They moved that website out and made it separate and independent from Neiman Marcus. So Neiman Marcus was no longer so My Teresa and Neiman Marcus were owned by Neiman Marcus Group. But what it means is that if creditors came after Neiman Marcus, the stores, they couldn't necessarily use My Teresa. They had separated them out. And Marble Ridge sued Neiman Marcus Group, the parent group, saying that the way they did that restructure was fraudulent. And the other things that were bad about, so that was one thing that was bad. The law case was pretty bad. The lawsuit was pretty bad. But another, I don't know if it was an intended consequence or not, but a consequence of moving My Teresa out from Neiman Marcus was that it made My Teresa a competitor of Neiman Marcus. So Neiman Marcus website is still there functioning as a luxury portal, but by moving My Teresa out, they made it an independent body that was now competing directly with Neiman Marcus. And I don't know why, because even though I've been on My Teresa here and there, I'm not a shopper with them. But My Teresa has definitely done way better in the e-commerce side of things than Neiman Marcus has. So there are those people who look at it as it poached customers away from Neiman Marcus, and most people didn't even know that the two are related. On top of all that, okay, so you've poached away your most successful component of your group, and they've also been bleeding retail executives. I mean, they've lost people who were at that company for 20, 25 years. So they might not have had digital type of experience, but they knew their customer base, they knew their retail space. And so, you know, it's a new lifeblood now. When you read about the new people that the current CEO has brought in, he's bringing in people from Apple, he's bringing in people from Louis Vuitton, he's bringing in people from places that have more of an online presence. And so he's really trying to move the company forward. A little bit more history. Prior to the whole COVID-19 situation happening, as of last year, Neiman's had already decided that they were going to close all of the last call Neiman Marcus centers. I know my local one closed a few years ago, which was kind of sad. They had great sales. But they are going to close out their last 22 remaining last call sites. And this is going to include the 500 retail employees and 250 non-retail employees. They also closed 2 distribution centers as well that supported the last. So really, when you put all of that together, and I know I've just given you guys a whole bunch of information, but when you put all of that together, for me, it's kind of like, wow. When you have that much debt, can you really still operate? And can you really still operate in the time of COVID when there is, you know, your revenue, I'm sure their revenue has gone down dramatically. And unfortunately, we can't find the numbers because they don't report their financials anymore. But they could not make a approximately $115 interest payment on April 15th, $100 and something interest payment. So that's what says to me that they did not then make enough sales or revenue to make that payment. And that wouldn't have involved them like slashing other things. So, but like I said, there are some benefits to them for declaring bankruptcy if they end up declaring it. There's actually even benefit to them for just the news leaking that they're thinking about declaring bankruptcy, because if I was a creditor and someone said, no, I might not pay you this month, I might be a little bit more willing to negotiate. So I don't know, was it a negotiating tactic? I don't know. Like everybody else, I'm upset for the people who work at Neiman Marcus. I'm upset for everyone in retail that they are experiencing this. I'm proud of the companies that have kept their staff going, which seems to be a really small number here in America. I don't know worldwide. But I do know that staff at Bloomingdale's, I do know that staff at Saks, I know that staff at a lot of places has been furloughed. We just all wait to see and all hope for the best that, you know, life will go back to a better normal than what we know it, because I do want Mother Earth to recover. So yeah, so I mean, really, I just kind of wanted to finish off by saying, you know, the impacts of this. It's not just the staff as well. It's not just the brand of Neiman Marcus. I think the brand of Neiman Marcus will survive. No matter how they come out on the other end of this, Neiman Marcus will still be Neiman Marcus. I mean, we all still remember Marshall Fields. That's gone. We all still remember Barney's. That's gone. Gosh, there's so many big name department stores that have gone. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think the era of the department store is over? That's another topic I'll be touching on soon. Oh yeah, so the staff has been impacted, the malls are being impacted. If REIT funds are also going to suffer, real estate individual trusts. Is that what REIT stands for? I get it always confused. But you know, real estate, commercial real estate, retail real estate, all of those are being so heavily impacted, or will be so heavily impacted by Corona. But should they manage to turn things around, because of course, surprise, surprise, they ended up not declaring bankruptcy like everybody said they would, as far as I know. So hey, maybe we're gonna turn some things around. I think they will be able to turn things around, and that we are going to be able to look forward to some of the staff coming back online, especially in the states that are slowly starting to open up. We can look forward to great sales, because think about it, they are sitting on merchandise. There's merchandise in the stores that they cannot sell, and so they're going to need to get rid of it, because you know what, vendors are ready to ship in the next season, fall, and you know, our 24-hour brain cycles, fast fashion, every 6 weeks, whatever. We will be going back out and shopping and looking for deals. Even at Neiman Marcus, people love a sale. You've been on Neiman Marcus on Black Friday, you know what I mean. So there's a lot of great things that will happen for them if they're able to come back. They've also drummed up a lot of publicity. Might not be the best kind of publicity, but like they say, any publicity is good publicity. And then I'm really kind of hoping that if they are able to sell themselves, they'll sell themselves to a company that wants to get back to what it is that made Neiman Marcus Neiman Marcus. A retail company that's actually interested in retail. I think my problem with retail now is that it's no longer about the fashion, it's no longer about the goods, it's just another way for corporate entities and shareholders to make money. And it's all about how much money can we pull out of this, how much dividends can I get, how much this. And that experience of going into the store, having lunch at Neiman Marcus, doing happy hour at Neiman Marcus, going to a trunk show at Neiman Marcus, I for one am personally hoping that they will come back better than before. I'm hoping their employees will come back better than before, and I'm hoping things will turn out just fine. Let me know what you think about Neiman Marcus being on the verge of declaring bankruptcy. Let me know if you think they're going to do it, how you think they're going to come back, and also let me know if you like this. Let's talk about luxury series, because I would love to hear your thoughts. And then yeah, subscribe, hit the notification bell, choose happiness. Always choose happiness, guys. I'm always gonna end that way no matter what I'm talking about. Let me know what other topics you would be interested in hearing about. And again, just a little disclaimer, these are my thoughts, and I'll put links down below for where I got some of my information, so you can do your own research and history if you're so interested. And thanks for watching.